You are listening to the 6th story for the month of June 2026 for Clarkesworld Magazine, issue 237. I do hope this podcast finds you as well as can be, all things considered. I want to thank you for being here, for listening to the podcast, for telling a friend, for buying a subscription, for going to patreon.com/Clarkesworld or chucking a few bucks our way via donation. We simply cannot do this without you. We just couldn't. We couldn't grow. We couldn't share the work of these lovely authors and artists and nonfiction authors that bring you each and every issue every month. And it's all put together by a very hardworking staff. So thank you for letting us do what we love to do with your support. Our title of this story is titled Burning Day, and it is by Samantha Murray. Samantha Murray's fiction has appeared in Clarkesworld, Asimov's Strange Horizons, the magazine of fantasy and science fiction, Lightspeed, Interzone Fantasy Magazine, Beneath Ceaseless Skies, and Escape Pod, among other places. Samantha is a 2-time Aurelius Award winner, and her work has been translated into Chinese and Vietnamese. Samantha lives in Western Australia in a household of unruly boys. If you like what you hear, there's plenty of stories to go back to, so I implore you to do so once you're done listening to this one. You can go listen to The Stars You Can't See by looking directly through these moments darkly. Somewhere it's about to be spring, preserved in amber, and of sight, of mind, of heart. So, my dear listener, I hope that you can sit back, relax, and let me tell you a story. You'd expected the gravity on Vixiv-11 to be fractionally more than that on Earth. It is not something you ever notice much, even in the beginning, beyond an exhaustion that arrives by the end of the day and settles over you like a blanket, weighted and heavy, making you sleep deeply. You'd expected a certain amount of culture shock due to the enormity of meeting an alien species. Your training had covered that over and over for months before departures. The visuals and immersive programs still no real preparation for that contact. The sight and sound and smell of the Ixie. A tang reminding you of coriander and apple, but not quite either of those things. And that first moment, your hand clasped in theirs. Some of the humans find it overwhelming, despite all the preparation, and they clump together with the other humans, instinctively perhaps, always in groups or pairs. It is not how you feel. If anything, you avoid the others of your species, or at least do not make overtures in their direction, but this is not really anything new, if you think about it. On Vixiv, you feel expanded instead. Expansive, curious and adventurous and outgoing. On Earth, you were quieter and more introverted, although determined and stubborn underneath it always. You'd expected the science and geology of this world to be fascinating, and it is. It is why you are here, at least it is the pathway that lets you be here, the reason that makes sense, the easy one to give when asked. What is even more fascinating are the myriad forms of life on this planet, including the Ixie themselves. It makes you slightly wishful that you studied xenobiology instead of rocks. By coming to Vixiv-11, you'd expected to learn and discover and challenge yourself beyond anything you'd ever known, and to add, even in the smallest way, to humanity's repository of knowledge and understanding of the universe. It sounds lofty and grandiose when you think of it that way, but it is also deeply true. What you hadn't expected was love. You run your hands over your lover's bumpy skin. Vivid stretches languorously as your fingertips lightly explore the dense nodules clustered around their shoulder blades. And these, you say? You know that it is not Ixie custom to ask. Not forbidden, but not polite as such, not Vlorn, which is the closest Ixie equivalent of the concept. But Divid does not seem to mind you asking. We'll spend hours telling you about it if you wish. Perhaps you get away with it as you are not Ixie, or it's just that you and Divid are long past politeness. The soft, wheezy syllables of your translator come slightly delayed, although you are so used to that now, it barely intrudes, pausing instinctively at the end of your sentences for the translator to catch up, your new, learned way of communicating, stately and rhythmic like a dance. Most of these are whole of, Divid tells you. The memories are hard and solid, irregular bumps, edges overlapping and merging into each other. Whole, again, David tells you more of these early days of that relationship, entwining limbs and untwining dreams. You feel like you almost know notes of their wanderlust and generosity and sly sense of humor, although they left half a decade ago breaking David's heart. You are not jealous. It would be ridiculous to be jealous, but your curiosity borders on the compulsive at times. Here, David says, moving your hand around to their lower back where hard, rigid whorls protrude near the spine. Again, you suspect. But David, perceptive as always, replies to even the things you don't say. No, not they say, eyes holding yours, fractal and compelling. Eyes you could fall into, do fall into every time. You, Anna. This is you. In the vague, distant way you thought about it on Earth, when you ever stopped to consider it at all, you presumed yourself not built for love. You loved your parents and your older brother in a matter-of-fact, taken-for-granted way. But that was different. You were not ever one for passions or infatuations. You had friends, but only an odd few here and there, like they were outer shell electrons, only so many in each layer. No one got too close. You were not interested in romantic attachments, although there were some who wanted to pay you that kind of attention. It was always somehow cloying and sticky, and they never got past that outer shell, as if the same forces that drew them in would not let them get too close. When you went out on fledgling dates, you were conscious of evaluating the experience for the kind of memory it would make after it was done, as if you were looking back on it from a distance already, even when you were right in the middle of it, never fully present in the moment as it was. There are sub-channel messages from home arriving at regular intervals, data limited to text only. Will you be home for New Year? The latest one says, it's from your mother. Well, most of them are. Will you come? You have extended your contract here, and then extended again. You feel a sharp little pang of homesickness when you read the messages, but you pay it no attention. You miss your family if you stop to think about it, so you do not stop to think about it. You are rid of the weight of it here, the weight of their expectations, the weight of their love and concern and hopes and fears for you, the multitude of things your parents want to know and continually ask about your life and your plans. Their opinions and debates and arguments and subtle or not so subtle hints and comments and reminders and helpful suggestions. By going so far away, so very far away, you are free of it. The demands, the expectations, the worries, their picture of who you are and who you should be. You feel shaken loose, pared back and curiously lighter here despite the increase in gravity. You grew up around horses, and sometimes in the dreams you have right before waking you see them, piebald and chestnut, running, their hooves pounding a rhythm in time with your heartbeat. Will you come? Will you come? Will you come? This vantage point and outlook with views down to the municipality and out to the horizon is one of your favorite haunts on Vixiv-11. You make the trek up here with David often, and there is something about the place that makes you feel somehow more than you used to be. Or perhaps it is the company you keep, too, David, with their fierce curiosity and malleable mind, flowing and bending around you and your ideas and thoughts like an ocean. From here, the Inselbergs, Yizzy and Yuri, rise steeply against the smooth, planated landscape, with their steep, overhanging cliffs of sharply flaring slopes. You know their formation owes much to fire spalling, pieces of the rock flaking off and shattering. The landscape is rich in iron minerals, and what was once goethite or limonite has been converted into a structure very similar to Earth's hematite through thermal oxidation and dehydration. It resembles an amalgam of hematite, quartz, and feldspar, strange mineral combinations that give the rock its whirling, recursively symmetrical structure, glinting brightly in burnished pink and reds in the slanted light of the setting sun, purple-hued at their rounded summits. It's beautiful, you say to David. It's not just the science of the geology here that you appreciate, although you always look through that lens. Surely you say this every time, this simple elemental response to the landscape before you. So, are you, David says, their nictitating eyelids flicking closed against the glint of the sun. They don't need to use a translator for short phrases like these. You are used to being the clever one in any group, but Divid has learned so much of your language, much more quickly and easily than you have in return, their mind lightning fast and intricate. You love the sound of your words as Divid pronounces them, not so much like an accent, as like there are many sounds entwined in one, like the syllables have been rolled by an ocean, with a feeling of depth behind them. There are no oceans on the surface of Vixiv, though. They are all underground. Lakes and rivers mark the landscape, and this planet has a vigorous water cycle, but no vast body of water to be seen from space. Giant intermittent geysers erupt at her poles. You dream of taking a trip with Divid to see them one day erupting in giant plumes against the sky. This walk with Divid, as afternoon shifts into early evening, is now both ritual and joy. You never see any other humans out and around, not at this hour. They have retired to their ACOMs, with each other as a buffer. Divid walks more slowly now than they used to. They have a hard, knotty bunch of memories clustered on the soles of their feet, so their gait is more tentative than it was, but they don't complain. The air is cool, and even the trees are still. Your eye is naturally drawn to the patterns of rock, but you can see how the xenobotanists find the vegetative life on this planet intriguing. The trees, most much larger than those you've known on Earth, look gnarled, convoluted, thick, and laden. They, too, are ready to burn. Look, you say under your breath. An Ixie ahead is shuffling slowly, arduously, hardly gaining any ground with each step. You let your gaze pass over and back, and then again, as you pass by. It is not forlorn to let your eyes linger and stop on those you don't know. Why are they like that? Memory growths are compounded on top of each other so that their whole body is lumpy and contorted with protuberances, some as large as your fist. You can hear the whistling of their labored breath. Your quick glances are enough to see that the features of their face are squeezed out of all symmetry, disfigured, and almost hidden behind folds and twists of flesh. All the Ixie have growths and solid masses of memory on their skin, but you have never seen it like this, not so much, so very much. They have missed the last burning days, Divid says, an odd twist to their mouth. At least 3 by the looks of it, maybe 4. I didn't know you could do that. You half turn so that you can flick your glance over the Ixie again, quickly, then away, then back. Why do they do that? There is a coiling in your stomach. You are not sure if it is pity or horror or an odd sort of admiration. Divid undulates their neck in the Ixie version of a shrug. They won't give them up, the memories. If they miss this burning day, they will not make it to the next burning day. Vixiv is part of a binary solar system, but with a circumstellar orbit around only one of its stars, Li. The other, Elixa, is much, much farther away. Its impact on Vixiv, usually minimal. Except every 11 years, there is a gravitational caustic when the suns align, focusing a huge amount of electromagnetic radiation upon an extremely narrow band that includes the planet itself, a gravitational lensing effect magnifying radiation from both suns, setting the planet alight. And Vixiv burns. You'd thought you'd understood. It was fascinating, and the physics caused much furor among the scientists once the details were clear and examined. The Ixie burn, too. All life on Vixiv does. You thought you'd accepted and understood this. And you thought you'd be long gone, returned home by now. But then you extended your contract and extended again for reasons. Well, one reason, really, Divid. Although you hadn't acknowledged that in the beginning. Something else, catching a light, unexpected and unbidden, within yourself. But now, as Burning Day approaches, only mere months away, you feel strangely at sea, on an ocean that only exists underground, perhaps, and you don't really understand it all. What do you think of them like that? You ask Divid now, half turning your eyes so you can still wander briefly across the misshapen Ixie now behind you. The closest the translator gets to Divid's reply is burdened. It will be different come Burning Day, Divid says sometimes when their balance wavers, or they can't get comfortable at night, turning over. They were more sleek and supple when you first met, their limbs long and smooth, but they mention Burning Day less often as it grows closer, while you worry at the subject with your thoughts and with your words. You won't forget me, you ask. It's not really what you're asking, not really what you mean. I won't forget you, Anna, David replies, without any trace of irritation at being asked the same question many times. David will remember you after Burning Day. They have explained it to you. They will retain a semantic rather than episodic and biographical memory. They will remember the facts. But you will not remember this, you say, and you kiss them hard. It is not forlorn. You are outside in public, although there are not many around. But David does not mind. They show you the moment of that particular kiss later, a series of little rigid bumps, like hard raised freckles that have formed along the line of their chin. The facts will remain after Burning Day, but not the emotions, not the memories, not any of the moments that are intense enough to ossify their anatomy. You thought you'd accepted and understood this. Is it painful? You ask the next time you bring the subject up. You know the answer already, of course you do. David pauses, and then you hear the Ixie affirmative. Horrifically painful, David says. But there is a kernel of something fierce and almost beautiful underneath it. It is a good kind of pain. As it comes closer, I crave it. I will burn. They sound jubilant, oddly proud, although pride is not something you've seen in them ever before. I am glad you will be there afterward to see me shining in the sun, they say. And David's strange, faceted eyes are shining too, although they are looking not at you, but beyond. Vixiv has an extensive network of caves and tunnels that go deep, deep into the ground. The Ixie bear few young, probably to balance their extended lifespans, but children, young animals, and unestablished plant life do not survive being out in the open on Burning Day. Even the insectoid life burrows down into the ground in preparation. There have been arrangements for you to stay in the caves, joining the other humans and Ixie, most young, some not. Some not. You are aware of a frantic edge to the way you seek out David, touch them, cleave to them. What if you went below with me? You suggest at last, tentatively, more hesitant than you have ever been in their company, where everything had felt surprisingly natural and easy, even in the beginning, despite all of your differences, all your messages from home. Will you come home? It is unfair, yes, perhaps a selfish want, but you want it more than you have ever wanted anything. Something very precious feels like it is at risk, teetering precariously. You are not Ixie. How could you understand? But not all Ixie burn. They won't give them up. But David pulls away from you. I cannot do that, they say, malleable like an ocean, you'd thought, flowing around you, bending, adapting, not rigid like the rocks you spend your days studying. But how did you ever think that an ocean was something you could move? You can let them go? All your memories? You thought you'd understood this. You did not understand this, did not want to, really. You do not want to be given up. David does not answer that, but comes back to take your hand. It is quite something to know you, they say slowly, as if explaining something delicate. The translator rushes in afterward. You underestimate your effect on me. Here you are, and here. They move your hand to the hard lumps in their stomach that poke out sharply, like the peaks of serrated mountains in miniature. This here is when we were looking at Yiri, and you said that you loved me. I did not expect that. I did not expect to feel so much. But you will forget. You do not mean it to be a question. David has explained to you how it works, but your voice rises up at the end and then turns into a wail. Stay with me. David's breath gives an odd little hitch and their shoulders hunch a little restlessly. And you wonder what you are doing to them, if a memory growth is forming, a dense heaviness coalescing in their chest cavity, perhaps, right now, here, in this moment. It does not matter. It will not last. It will be gone, melted away, pooled into the ground at their feet come burning day. It is cool and cavernous underground. The Ixi down here are edgy and somewhat frenetic, the buzz of anticipation almost palpable. They are mostly young, not yet mature, although there are some that are older, some laden and bulbous and unsymmetrical. You look for the Ixi you saw walking that evening with Divid, but you do not see them. You can hear the high-pitched chittering of some of their animals kept somewhere far off, and there is a faint rhythmic shoo-sha, shoo-sha sound at the very edge of your hearing, which might be water. For once, you cluster with the other humans waiting with them in a silent group. A series of slanted and burnished mirrored surfaces taking convoluted turns direct light down from the surface, light without heat, and offer viewing points for what is going on above. Many of the younger Ixi gather to watch, and you do too, your pulse quickening. The reflected landscape, small but unblurred, gives you a view of the whole municipality and surrounding countryside. You know that all the Ixi above go and stand outside in a wide glade together to meet the flame as it comes, but you flick your thoughts away from Divid like it is Lorne, not letting them linger. It feels like it begins with a sound, but surely you can't have heard anything from down so far here. Maybe it's just the sharp, rushed intake of breath among the other humans. Maybe just your heartbeat in your ears. Or like a fire along the horizon, flaring bigger and brighter. Then in a rush it comes, the conflagration. Flame running like the horses of your childhood on Earth, only so much faster and fiercer. But you can see them in colors, in the curling shapes, chaotic and capricious. Manes of flame and sooty eyes, heads tossing elemental free, dashing forward, onward, outward. You stand transfixed, oblivious to those around you, human or Ixi. It is wild, and it is everything, and it is beautiful. And it is an ending. After burning day comes the storms and the rains. Flammagenitus clouds form, dense pyrocumulonimbus soaring clouds, smoke particles forming nuclei for all the water that had been turned to vapor to condense around. Most Ixi stay underground for 3 more days. When you emerge, Vixiv is new. Burning day was an ending sweeping across the planet, but it carried the hard, tight kernel of a beginning within it. It's still raining, but more gently now. There are already small green shoots budding up from the soil, their dormancy broken by the fire, ready for a season of rapid growth. 11 years this new life has to establish itself enough to survive the next burning. The trees that were laden and convoluted now reach tall and straight and commanding to the sky. You notice some crackling and spalling and rockfall, especially of the more porous stone. Some large rocks, partially made of agate, are now sparkling and glittering, resulting from internal fractures and the way light is now refracting off their new surfaces. And Divid. They know who you are. You are a fact that they retain, and they come to meet you all long and lean and supple, still beautiful. Very beautiful. And you could start again with them from here, perhaps, and yet. This Divid is a little rash, a little impatient, with a restless excitability you are not used to. Their eyes look at you with curiosity and a certain interest, but you can't find the tenderness you are looking for. A shiny and new Divid, less wise, less calm, not yet tempered by time and experienced pain and heartbreak. They still have eyes you can fall into. Another 11 years you could have with them, perhaps, here on a planet not your own, even if everything worked well, if this fresh, lively Divid didn't go off to seek some other adventure. You could travel together, see the geysers like you've dreamed, have experiences, make memories, and then after 11 years, another burning day, taking with it trips to the geysers and everything else you'd said or they'd felt. Long nights and long conversations, arguments and sudden laughter, all lost and gone in a flare of light and heat. Given up for something approaching immortality. Maybe 11 years would be enough, or maybe the hurt would just be all the brighter, burning you up as well, just in a different way. You think of Divid's word, burdened. All of this life and learning and loss is a burden for you to carry. This is true. You cannot burn away your memories of Divid, even if you wanted to. You don't want to, but you have other choices. You've already decided, although you are only just realizing that, you might return to Vixiv one day, but for now you will go home. Will you come? back in time for New Year's if you leave on the next ship. You miss your family. The homesickness you'd ignored and held at bay till now ignites and rushes through you. You want that reunion with your past, the things that have shaped you, the bruises and markings of a life, all of it. You can feel the weight of those childhood memories here, after all, both good and difficult, but yours. A burden and a joy, both yours to carry and keep. I'll come back one day, you say to David after the days have passed. It's not a promise, but it might be true. You clutch them to you for a moment, but David pulls away too soon. There are others around. You recognize the word without waiting for the translation. Forlorn. Your departure will not cause David to form any strong new memories. They do not care enough to miss you, not yet. They regard you with their strange, faceted eyes you could fall into, do fall into every time. Goodbye, you say, but not aloud. Your heart is rock tumbling down, becoming talus and scree. There's a tightness in your throat and your chest, as if a hard lump of memory is coalescing, ossifying, constricting your lungs, making it hard to breathe. You find yourself wishing that it would physically manifest, solid and hard, bounded and understood, something with known edges. But it is only a memory in the making, a moment you will carry, too, even if you can't wear it on your skin. What are your thoughts on the story? You can send me an email. I'm kate@clarksworldmagazine.com. I do hope you're well. We have a couple more stories left for you for the month of June. And then we make our way to July with more stories brought to you by your support. So thank you. And I do hope you'll come back and listen, should you so choose. And until then, my dear listener, I bid you a very fond and hopefully very temporary farewell.